Yeah, it's coming up.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, fantastic. So today on the podcast we have Darcy. Darcy is a site admin, and I'm really excited for this episode of On the Tools to talk through this role. So thank you so much for coming to the FIFO Project podcast.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. So tell us, first of all, tell us like what is your role on site?
So I'm based at a site in South Australia. So I work as a site admin there for a shaft project. So not your normal underground mine either. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
My day-to-day duties are anything from payroll to flights and accommodation, um, managing the roster. That's a massive one. So pretty
Yeah.
much we just work under the project manager, and it's kind of like, in a sense, like a receptionist cross assistant. So we pretty
Yeah.
much just work under them and take on anything else that they chuck at us. So lots of reporting, lots of filing, lots of leave management, because
Yeah.
obviously that's half, you're out
Yeah.
there half the time everyone's trying to take leave. Do, do, do. Payroll's a big one as well. So for my company, we manage the payroll and we send it off, and then HR takes over that as well. So
Yeah.
all the onboarding, so all the new employment, we do that as well.
Yeah.
It's really like a general admin job, so it's nothing scary. It's nothing completely different out of the ordinary, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like no 2 days are going to be the same either. There's always
No,
something different you can do.
exactly. Like, you every day you pretty much do the same tasks. However, like with flight delays, with, whatever gets thrown
Yeah.
during the week, like if there's a flight delay, then obviously you're going to be focusing on changing all those flights, rebooking accommodation, making sure
Yeah.
everyone's either, settled in Adelaide, or, getting them where they need to be. So like it differs. Like you never know what you're going to walk into.
Yeah, yeah. And so how long have you been in that role as site admin?
6 months now.
6 months.
But
Yeah.
previously, before that, I worked for the camp company. So,
Okay.
um, so like the catering company, I did their admin
Mhm.
and then moved to their travel section. So I was booking the flights for the whole site. So the charter
Yes.
flights.
Yeah, fantastic. And so how did you then get into that role? Was it like just, simply applying? Did it take you, you hear some people that have been trying for like 12 months, I guess, to get into the industry. Was it quite a process for you, or how did that come about?
So I had like initially moved from country SA to Adelaide,
Mhm.
and I kind of wanted to change it up because I've got a background in healthcare. So I was kind
Yeah.
of like, oh, I'm kind of interested. I kept hearing about it, and I applied for a housekeeping job initially, and the company called me up and were like, you're overqualified. And I was
Okay.
like, and I
Okay.
was like, thanks, but I'm just looking for a foot in the door, because I didn't want to I didn't know what to expect, and that's exactly what you said. People don't know, like, to just apply for like an admin job in the mines. You don't know whether they're going to accept it, because like
Yeah.
it's not the same. Well, that's what you think. It's not the same, but then they offered me a job in their admin in the camp, and I was like, oh, sure, why not? So that
Yeah.
that was originally 14 and 7. So did
Yeah.
that for almost 12 months, and that was a lot for me. And then
Yeah.
it hit the end of that period of time, and I was like, you know what, I would really like an even roster. So I applied for that job, and it was on the same site. So I kind of wanted to progress, and the company I worked for at the time wasn't really offering anything to help with that. So
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'm ready to move on. I applied for this job. A guy asked to meet me in Adelaide, and then from there it just went on with it.
Yeah.
So the lady that was doing it was only 4 and 3, so she was the only one doing that role. So they
Yeah.
wanted a back to back to her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've got an even time roster now.
Brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So give us like, I guess, a rundown. Is site admin for, the industry, is that a 12-hour day as well? Does it, I guess in the city it's a 9 to 5 sort of thing. So give us like a rundown of a day in the life. Like what time do you start in a day? Um,
So I
breaks, what do you do in the day?
I hop on the bus at 5:15.
Yeah.
So I have to be there before 5:15, and we leave, it depends what site you're on. Like you have
Mhm.
like different buses, but at the shaft we have our own bus. So I jump on at 5:15 and I don't get back to camp until about 6 p.m.
Wow, so it's a long day for you guys as well.
Yeah, so we pretty much do the same as everyone else. We all hop on the bus and hop off at the same times. Pre starts at about 5:45. We join in on that as well.
Yeah.
I just sit there and pretend like I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But we run through the day exactly as everyone else. So
Yeah.
it's a long
Yeah.
day, and it is like staring at a computer for over 12 hours is like
Yeah. Yeah. How do you
sometimes
cope with that side of it? Like just
I
staring at a computer?
I do go out and like I have my coffee in the morning. I go outside. I watch the sunrise because that's like the best part of working out there is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sunrise. But I definitely take the time to just take a step back. Like, don't you need to take breaks? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone else is hands on pretty much. Like, even the
Mm.
managers, they're always out and about. But like, I know that I'm fixated in my little corner staring at a screen most of the day. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got like smoko and lunchtime and stuff like that. So do you make sure that during those times you get away from your desk, um,
yeah,
get
ours is
outside?
pretty flexible as well, so I try and get outside as much as I can because, you know, like most of the time the crib room's crowded or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the thing is where I work as well, I'm the only female. So myself and my back to back, we're the only females on our project. So
Yeah.
like I get along with all the guys fine, but it is nice sometimes to just take a step back because you're constantly surrounded by them.
Yeah. Take a bit of fresh air, go and watch the sunrise, have a coffee outside, like be around people that smell beautiful and feminine and
Just need to be like, oh, just need to
yeah,
feel feminine for a moment here.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So your role, I guess you don't have a lot of interaction face to face with other people. You were saying the managers like are out and about and stuff. You're mainly just on your computer dealing with like phone calls, emails, that sort of side of things.
Yeah, so not a lot of interaction unless they're in the office with me.
Yeah.
However, I'm still kind of like boarded off and I kind of just stare at a wall most of the day.
Yeah.
So it is like, in a
Okay.
sense, it is quite isolating. So it's something that if you're looking to get into it, you've got to be prepared that the job working fly in, fly out in itself is isolating and, it can be
Mm.
quite damaging on your mental health. So you've got to be prepared that, take the time for yourself. Like, in your lunch break, call someone you love, call someone like,
Yeah.
because if you're not talking to someone all day, it's like sometimes
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
randomly email people for a chat. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and you need to keep those connections and that communication, and even if it is just an email or a text message, it is really important to keep that up for your mental well-being and just so you don't feel like an absolute hermit, in your corner, no sunlight, like no no human interaction.
try nothing. I just, it's, yeah. And I think that's what I noticed from working at the camp company, like surrounded by females, surrounded by other people,
Yeah.
like working in an office full of people now to an office with all males and just myself. And like, I do love the environment in a sense because, everyone says when you work with all men, it's drama free, which is
Yeah.
not always the case.
No, it's not. It's not. Believe me, they love a gossip as much as we do.
Yeah, like I come back and sometimes they've made up something new about me, but I think they also love just having one female around that they can just
Yes.
like slowly like pick away at. But I
Yeah.
think in a sense that is good because if you have the good relationship with the people that you work around, and I think it is good to be conscious and make an effort with the people around you, whether they're
Yeah.
female or male, but especially, I mean, when you work fly in, fly out, you're expected to be dominated by men anyway. So
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And so how do you sort of manage, I guess, being in that male dominated industry? Is it something that has like did it make you hesitate, I guess, to move roles, being surrounded by women in your other role? Did you hesitate? Or were we like, let's just do it. Let's bring,
yeah, I was kind of like obviously when I first started, like I heard what people said about fly in, fly out. I
yeah,
heard about the camp drama, and when I started, I was 19 as well, so I was like absolutely terrified walking into it, and I
yeah,
was quite fortunate to like meet a few girls and they kind of took me under their wing. And then
Yeah.
now that now I feel so empowered about the fact that I can walk through a dining room with all men, sit down
Yeah.
and eat and don't give a fuck. So
Yes. Yeah.
I
It is
feel
the
like,
best feeling.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I can go and do anything now. And now that I work with all men, I feel kind of like protected in a sense. Like I feel like I've got a little army around me. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I don't
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable, and like I know a lot of women can say that it can be uncomfortable, and if they get surrounded by the wrong people with the wrong
Yeah.
mindset,
Yeah.
yes, and they are always there's always one.
Yeah, yeah, but
But
there's, I mean, in any industry, I think it's the same.
yeah,
I know we hyper focus on the mining industry at the moment because it's in the media so often. But I guess in every industry, you have that one person that you're just like, I hate you. You make the office bad. You are the bad, the toxic
yeah,
energy around here, and yeah,
but 100%. But I think it's just when it comes to yourself, as long as you're constantly, aware of what you're doing and what
yeah.
you're doing to assist yourself, I feel like everything around you doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Wise words. So what sort of prompted you, I guess, in the beginning? You said you were 19 when you got into the industry. What was it that drew you to the industry? Are you like just money, time, that sort of thing? Or is this something that you wanted to do? How did you what, was the deciding factor on like, hey, let's join the mining industry?
I kind of was like umming and ahhing. I kind of wanted, in a weird sense, I wanted an escape. Like I moved from the country to the city and I was like, I started looking, I was applying for everything. And because I pretty much was after COVID, I'd wanted to get out of healthcare and I've always
Yeah,
been like a massive workaholic. So I've always loved working. Like I worked 2 jobs for multiple years, like not because I needed the money, because I just like doing it.
just
Like,
enjoyed it. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I like the feeling of burnout. I don't know. But
Toxic
I
relationship with burnout.
So I moved and then I was literally applying for everything. So I applied to be like a funeral director.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I was just like
Okay.
whatever popped up and looked cool, I was like, give it to me. And
Wow.
I got multiple interviews and multiple offers, but this mining job came up a lot quicker than everything else. So I was just
Okay.
like, and at the time my brother was looking into working in the mines and I was kind of like, oh, I could hop on this trend.
Yeah.
And I started and I was like, first few swings, I was like, no, no, I'm out.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I was like, not for me. And then, like, after a few months, I was like, wow, I was really thriving. And I think I got addicted to the lifestyle of being able to disappear for 2 weeks and,
Yeah.
only have to see everyone for one. And then it was just like rinse and repeat. And then it gets tiring after a while. Like,
Yeah. Did you find it really difficult? So I've lived in the country for most of my adult life. Moving back to the city, I was like, there's just too many people. Like,
yeah,
is that something that you felt like you wanted to get out because you're like being in the city's a lot?
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it's convenient, but it's definitely not home for me. And
Yeah.
it's still like when I go back home, I'm like, ah, like,
Yeah.
ah. It's just that
Yeah.
sigh of relief. And like even interacting with people from the city, I feel like when I go to work, I'm surrounded by the same kind of people
Yeah.
because everyone out there most of the time has the same mindset. Like they're there to provide, they're there to work, they're there to do things for themselves. So it's kind of nice because you're having a conversation. It's like, oh, you have the same goals as me, you have the same. And then obviously,
Yeah.
as I worked, the money and the income like doesn't compare to any other office job here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
over $80,000 is a lot of money for an office job, and to have even time as well. So having 8 days on, 6 days off, it's a nice, sweet little bonus because you're working your normal 9 to 5 and you've got 2 days off. After your 9 to 5, a
Yeah.
lot of people can't seem to make time for themselves either.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's really difficult. I love the people that are in the industry and are really taking full advantage of
Mhm.
their lifestyle that it gives them. And I know it's a lot harder if there's like a family involved or you've got kids or that sort of stuff to come home to. But when you can really take advantage of the fact that you get those 6 days or 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is, whatever your roster is, you have those days at home and you can like really take advantage of that and have time for yourself and book the appointments that you need to. And so many people I know, they're like, oh, it's so much easier to go to therapy when I'm working away because you
Yeah.
can book it during the day. You don't have to wait for like one of those once a month,
Yeah.
late nights.
And that's the thing, like, I think when you're home, you're more present. Like, I feel like
Yeah,
I give more time to my family and friends now that I work away. And people say, like, I started to like detach from most of the people when I started first working away.
yeah,
But nowadays, I feel like I'm more present. Like my partner and I are great. Like
yeah,
he quite enjoys it. Like it's nice. We get one weekend together, one weekend away. Same with all my friends. Like I feel like I can catch up with someone during the week. I can go home and visit my family. Like and
yeah,
same with like therapy. Like once a fortnight. Great regular session, 8:30 in the morning. I don't have to go to
yeah,
work. Like it's great.
yeah.
Like certain things like that. It's just making the time for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, when you're doing that 9 till 5, you come home at 5 o'clock in the evening, you've had a really bad day at work, you bring that home with you. Whereas when you leave site, most people are able to leave work at work.
Yeah,
They're going home to a completely different environment, different people, different weather conditions, like you're just completely out of that environment. So it's a lot easier, I think, to leave that behind.
yeah.
And then you can be present for that time at home because
Yeah.
work is at work.
And like being a site admin is quite flexible as well. Like, um, I had some time off. I worked from home for about 2 months there, and they
Yeah,
were great. Like, the job is versatile as well. So if you have things on, if you have events, if you need to take leave, but they still need your support, you're based on a laptop. You can take that with you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if and that is quite nice. I did like having 2 months off and hanging around at home. Like it was still
yeah,
like long days at home, boring, but there's that versatility as well if you've got that good relationship with management or, the
yeah,
hierarchy.
yeah, yeah. Um, is that sort of something where you want to stay now? You're happy in site admin? Are you wanting to progress from there? Or are you one of these people that you've got like a goal in mind? You've got, a house deposit or something, and then you've got an exit plan, you want out of the industry, or are you building your career there?
I said that I'd only do it for a year and it's been over a year now. So
Okay,
I'm
okay.
I'm like I was kind of keen to see what it had to offer. So
Mm,
I've started like looking into it, maybe an apprenticeship or I don't know. I'm very passionate about the like psychology. So
mm,
thought about maybe psychological safety in the mines. Like, there's all potential. Like I do want to
yeah.
study. I feel like I have so much more to offer the world. But whether that's there or not there, I'm not sure. But hopefully I'm aim to stick around for another year, I think.
Yeah, yep, fantastic. Sounds like you've got like big dreams. You've got,
I
yeah,
like an uncertain dream. Like I've got something there,
mm,
but whether it happens, it happens. Whatever the world provides me, I'm kind of keen to see. But you know what? I'm
yeah.
only 20, so I've got plenty of time.
You've got all the time in the world to figure it out. Yeah, yeah, that's so good. So what would you say, what's the best thing about site admin? If someone was coming to you and asking you like, what is the best part? What part of the day just like is where you're in your happy place? What's the best part of it?
That's part of my day. I think that the interaction with the men out there and being able to get them home or being able to do something for them or, being able to just talk to them and having a conversation with these men that, they're also fixed, they've all got fixed mindsets. So I feel like when I talk to them, I feel like I'm like a little drop of like, I don't know, maybe I feel like I'm a drop of kindness to them, and they're just like, "Who is this woman? What is she
Yeah,
doing for us?" And I feel like I enjoy doing things that benefit other people. So I feel like I do a lot. Like your whole role is to basically serve other people.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
feel
That's
like
a really good way
being
to look at it.
being able to do that for someone else and being able to assist them with their lifestyle. And a lot of the time they come to you because they just don't know how to do things themselves.
Yeah,
You're just a little box of tricks, I feel like, inside like admin. They
yeah.
can't live without you. So
Yeah, yeah, but you support them, and if you can do that from a place of kindness,
yeah,
and being genuine, and I mean, I'm sure you get lots of people like, oh, my room's been stuffed up, my flights are fucked, I can't get home, like, get me out of here, or whatever it is. I'm sure you deal with a lot of that, and if you can deal with that and show them like a little bit of patience and kindness, it'll change how they feel about running late or change
yeah.
of room and stuff.
Exactly. And I think like if you can deal with angry miners and just be patient, and I think the whole point is reaction, like
Yeah.
with them, is if you can be calm and you can be gentle and you can just not so much take it, because you shouldn't take, like, you shouldn't deal with someone disrespecting you, but
Yeah.
if you can just take a step back and be like, hey, look, it's actually not my fault and you
Yeah.
need to just sit back and wait, they a lot of the time they just understand and they're
Yeah.
appreciative of what you can do for them. So
Yeah, I guess that's, how does that saying go? Something about responding rather than reacting. If you can
yeah, yeah,
respond to them rather than just like react to their, whatever, if they're being really short or if they're being, whatever with you, if you can respond, most people that will bring them down, that will calm them down, that will help them to understand rather than just like getting it all fired up and then it's just on.
exactly. And that's the thing, you just sometimes need to just sit back and be like, well, it's out of my control. And that's half the time, I think, within like my job is most of the time it's out of your control. You're just
Yeah.
doing what you can. You're constantly waiting on responses, emails, corporate to get back to you on something. And it's like, for example, when we book a flight, once we book a flight, you have to submit change forms once the flights are booked or accommodation or anything. So you have to process it through like a change process. So
Yeah.
a lot of the time, guys are asking, oh, look, where's my itinerary? And it's like, well, we've actually got to wait for that. We can't just magically,
Yeah.
provide that. Like when there's
Yeah.
constant changes being made, you need to just wait. It's patience. Like it is frustrating in a sense because I'm so used to just being able to do things on my own. But
Yeah.
now you're relying on
Yeah.
a whole team of people. So
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say, okay, like the best, what's the worst? What's the one like job, what's the one duty you have to do on the daily that you just like, I could do without this? Is there a worst part or is it all
I feel
roses?
like majority of the time it's great. It's just like I don't enjoy doing things like the stationery order. Like I
Yeah.
don't
Okay. Yeah.
just like, and because when you do a normal stationery order, I feel like it's so simple. Like you go, add it to your cart, and you go. Like
Yeah.
we use like a whole system, like it's called COS. It's like a whole system, and you have to get everything. If it's not in the catalog, you have to get it quoted.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah.
So I just get so frustrated. I'm like, I don't want to wait for a quote on books. Like, just give it to me, okay?
Yeah. I just want my pens. Give them to me.
Just want a statement, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I can see that. It's not like you can just go to Office Works and just you
I'd
know,
love just add it to my cart and just walk away with it. No, I have to wait like 3 business days for a number to order it.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if that's the worst part of your job, you're doing all right, hey.
Yeah, I know that's how I feel. I'm like, and at the end of the day, I can walk out of that office, have a sleep, fly out, and it's like, well, that's it. That's all I can do.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. So talk us through like the end of the day. So you get back to camp about 6 o'clock in the evening. What does your evenings look like? There's not a whole lot of options, I guess, for hanging around after work, but what does a typical evening on site look like for you?
So usually I go straight to the dining room, get dinner, go
Mhm.
back to my room, change, and then I'll head straight to the gym. So
Yes.
I used to go to the gym in the mornings. I find that too hard now, so I go in the evenings.
Mhm.
So yeah, usually go change, go to the gym. I'll usually after the gym go for a walk, and I try and like keep it into like an hour frame because obviously you're on short time there. So
Yeah, yeah.
by the time I get back to my room, I change, lay my clothes out for the morning. Well, actually, I usually shower before I change because that's a bit gross, going to bed a bit sweaty.
Yeah.
um, I lay my clothes out for the morning. I lay things out like my vitamins. I pack my bag. I pack my lunch when I get my dinner at night. So
Okay.
everything's just
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah.
I put on my diffuser. I read my
Love
book
that.
for half an hour. But when I go to dinner, I usually take my melatonin. So by the time I've been to the gym, got back to bed, I'm ready to settle.
Yeah, fantastic. Sounds like you've got yourself like this perfect after work routine there.
Yeah, I've worked on it. It used to be like when I first started, it was obviously going to the bar and drinking, and now when I'm out there, I don't drink at all. So
Yeah.
it's like it's amazing how when you start out there, like that's the only way to that it feels like the only way to socialize.
Mm.
And now it's like I would rather exercise and have a good night's sleep than go drink. Like it honestly sounds awful to me now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I guess that's, you hear about it before you get into the industry, before you start. You're like, there's two options in the evening. You either go to the gym or you go out drinking. Like
Yeah,
that, and that's how I guess it's not sold to you, but that's how the story that you're
yeah.
told. You can either go to the gym or you can, sit there and drink at night. And neither option sounds the most fun, to be honest. Let's be honest. Not everyone's like, yay, I get to go to the gym every single night because it's the only thing I can do to entertain myself. But it's yeah, it is really difficult, I
And
guess.
that's
And
the
it just
thing, like by the time you finish, you're exhausted. Like
yeah,
like I find it hard because like I usually schedule like when I'm gonna speak to someone at night, like because I find it so hard because at home, like my parents or my partner, they're like, call you at 8 p.m. and I'm like, no, I'm asleep. That's
yeah.
bedtime. So it's
Yeah,
just like it's putting those boundaries in, and I feel like you have to find your own entertainment out there. And especially if you're used to being home and being able to have that free will of, after work, come home, be comfortable, like you need to really, create boundaries for yourself and create a routine. And I think once you get that routine, then you're happy. And if you
yeah.
if you change the routine one night, so be it. Like go and have a drink, go do that. Whatever makes you happy, just do it.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. I think that's a really good way to look at it. Routines doesn't have to be the same every single night, and having those boundaries in place, because I know, when you finish work in the day in the city, you're not going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. So, that might be the time of day when you sit down ready to have a chat to people. You guys are like in bed, you're done. You're like, day's over. I got to be up at, before the sun. So, for me, I know that sometimes by the time I'm done on the day, I'm like, all right, 8:30, sit down, catch up on like my messages, chat to people, all that sort of stuff. But it's just not reasonable to do that for people that are working that lifestyle. And you need to be firm with those boundaries. Like, hey, I need sleep because, my job relies on me having my shit together.
Yeah, I can't go in like half asleep. Like I've done it. I've done
Yeah,
it a few times. I've done like when I first started, like obviously, you breatho in the mornings, but you
yeah,
still get those nights that you've had drinks, you're going to work and you're like you feel you're seedy. And it's
yeah,
honestly, I couldn't think of anything worse
yeah.
anymore. Having like 4 hours of sleep and going into work, it's awful. It's just like hell for the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah, you've learnt your lesson very young. It took me a lot longer than 20 to learn that lesson, I can promise you. Fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love the insight that you've given us into like what a day in your life looks like on site. I think it's yeah, not too different, I guess, than an admin job in the city.
Regular.
But for any sort of company, it's the same sort of duties. You're working some extra hours, and then you're being compensated really well with the extra money that you can earn being away.
Yep, extra time at home, extra money, and the thing is, like most of the job advertisements, they ask for like fly in, fly out experience. A lot of the time, just ignore that apply because if you've got the skill set, that will
Yeah,
just come with it. Like they can't constantly expect someone just to have experience out in the mines. Like, if
yeah,
you've got a good resume and make sure it's updated, that's all I can say because I'm constantly looking at. Make sure it's updated, have a read through, see what you've got to offer, do a cover letter, say why you want to work, why you want to gain that experience out in the mines, and
yeah.
send it. Just go for it. Like, there's no harm in applying.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. I love that. And I think, if you more than just reading the job title, reading the job description, if it's something that matches what you're doing in admin or what you have done or duties that you can perform, just apply. And maybe the job title might seem really daunting, but look
It's
at the
honestly
duties, look
half
at the
the time.
role.
Yeah, it's not. And that's the thing. I feel like out there, everything's overcomplicated when
Yeah,
it shouldn't be. Like, it views different to what it actually is. So,
yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Finishing up for today, it's been really, really nice having you on the podcast. Any words, I mean, you've provided us with so many already, but any words of wisdom to other women looking at getting into site admin or just the industry in general? What would your, I guess, piece of advice be to women looking at getting into the industry?
I feel like don't hate on it until you've tried it. And I feel like that fear inside women who are trying to, move out to the mines, I feel like it's summoned from like the culture that we're exposed to. However, it's not as daunting as it sounds. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
once you it actually I feel like it provides women with more confidence than you expect. So I feel like giving it a crack will actually benefit you more than what you expect.
Yeah. Do you feel like you yourself have gone through like a really big period of personal growth?
100%. Like I've always been classed as, being mature for my age and all of that fun stuff. But I feel like being out there has made me become more self-aware. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so much more passionate about, my own time, mental health. I feel like that's a massive thing. And I feel like self-respect, all of those little things that add up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I have like I'm so fond of now. Like I
Yeah.
used to just be like, oh, it's not a big deal, but now I'm so like I love to preach. I love to talk about it. I love, exposing people to,
Yeah.
the more you talk about it and the more you make yourself feel good, good things will happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. That is like, you know, that's some words of wisdom right there for anybody that's looking at getting into the industry. It is such a period of growth and it might be uncomfortable at first, but I feel like that's where that personal growth, that's where all that good stuff you're going to
Exactly.
learn, you're going to grow through it, and the life experience that it gives you is amazing. And I know that the media in particular love to share the opposite.
Mhm.
But it's not as scary as what it's made out to be.
Exactly. You don't grow when you're comfortable anyway. Like
Yeah,
you have to feel that, that little bit of anxiety when anything's happening because that's where the good stuff happens.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It really, really does. And it's something that I'm always telling people, if you always do what you've always done, that's where you're going to stay. If you want to better yourself, you want to better your career, um, you know, you've got to get uncomfortable for a little bit.
Exactly. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You've got to put in the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have so loved chatting to you and learning about being a site admin and sharing your story. And yeah, thank you so much.
That's okay, anytime.